This week was a busy week for Call of Duty World War II, from Attack of the Undead ending to the DLC launching on PlayStation 4 to the introduction of a brand new game update that gave all players on PlayStation 4 and Xbox the Cavalry Division, with that coming to PC sometime next week. It was pretty busy in the way of a lot of things were being updated in a very short period of time. So with that said, it probably kept you pretty busy with new stuff to play around with. But as we entered into today, Friday, we had the blog post approaching, and that was something that for the last couple of days I had a big hunch on some things that we might be seeing. And so with that, I may have gotten my hopes up pretty high. And while this blog post might not have answered the questions that I wanted, and we may still see those coming in a very brief period of time, we did still get a lot of insight into World War II, both a recap and also some other things coming up, and some things that honestly I wanted to cover throughout the week that I actually did not get around to because they were relatively smaller and didn't fit into the other content we were putting up at the time. So today we're going to be detailing everything this blog post gave and a little bit of an update to Call of Duty World War II and what you should know out of it. So that said, let's jump right into it. So it does start with some recap stuff. DLC 3 dropped for PlayStation 4 this week. They showcased the trailers, both the multiplayer as well as the Tortured Path Zombies trailer as well. But the one cool thing that I think out of this that they gave a little bit further than just a little bit of recap is they debuted a few different map-specific overviews where they're about 30 seconds each. But the cool part within this blog post, which maybe doesn't necessarily concern you all that much or you might not be interested in it, but they gave some written developer commentary, basically explaining some of the ideology behind it and some of the different thoughts and feedback that the developers themselves, having worked on the maps, having played with them since the very conception of the maps, they give the community a little bit of their insight into the maps, which I think is very cool. Always love hearing about that behind the scenes type of stuff, and of course, from start to finish, that development process of the maps to me is fascinating, so to hear it from the people that made it is rather awesome. So I'll leave the link down there in the description below to the blog post if you guys want to check that out. Again, I'm not going to read off every single map in the developer commentary there for it, but again, if you guys have a few minutes to spare and you want to hear a little bit of the insight from the people that made it, it's definitely worth a read. After that, they mentioned a little bit about the Weekend Warfare, which for this weekend is PlayStation 4 only in the sense of the triple-double for the United Front Mosh Pit. We talked about that in the video where earlier in the week we discussed that it would be something that right now it doesn't encompass everybody, but next month whenever the DLC launches on Xbox One and PC, the same thing will be reciprocated so that PC and Xbox One only have a triple-double in the United Front Mosh Pit as well for that launch weekend. So fortunately, it's going to be something that over time evens out, but right now it may not. But for those of you guys that are on Xbox One and PC as well, plus those that are on PS4 that maybe didn't get the DLC, you are going to have the ability to have a triple-double weekend on War all weekend long. So that being Ground War, War's Mosh Pit, I believe, and also definitely the War Mosh Pit itself in the standard game mode. So that's something that you get double XP, double Division XP, and double Weapon XP. That goes until Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I believe, again, 6 p.m. GMT for those guys in the UK. After that, they talked a little bit about the game update earlier in the week, which of course gave us everything from the likes of the Cavalry Division to some new basic trainings to some new fixes within the game and some things that are more technical on that front. And so therefore, we end up seeing that this links back to the Reddit post, something that we talked about earlier in the week also, but again can be found in the description below if you guys want to check that out itself. One thing that I did like though about this, they linked back to it, is they gave actually the core specifics and actual numbers that are associated with the Cavalry Division. So whenever we talked about the Cavalry Division and how it worked, I believe on Sunday or Monday, one of those 2 days last week, we talked about it in a more relatively vague perspective. We didn't have the actual statistical data there to give back to everybody, but it was something that this detailed a little bit with that, where there's other smaller things you might not necessarily focus on too much, like in Capture the Flag. If you run the flag with the Cavalry Division, you get 20 extra HP. Then with Gridiron, you get an extra 30 HP with the shield, and the ball updates a little less often in that sense. And so there's a lot of cool stuff that, again, are a little bit more minute details you might not pick up on normally that are found in that game update over on Reddit. So again, if you guys want to check that out, the blog post link will be down there in the description below, and I can probably toss in the actual Reddit post as well. After that, though, they detailed, again, a little bit of a hot fix that came as of yesterday, and this gave a little bit of stuff that I wanted to talk about, but again, didn't really have the platform or the right focus in those videos to talk about those, so I'll detail it real quick here for you guys. But it fixed some issues where the Cavalry Division uniforms were not able to be selected in menus, a little bit of a bug that upon switching to a different division, your secondary weapon would stay the same. It fixed the UI issue where you'd see the rapid fire actually be unlockable with the ZK, but it's not obviously available to be placed on your weapon simply because there is that fast and slow firing mode. And it also fixed an issue where in the boss defeats in the Tortured Path, they wouldn't track properly. So in terms of little minute fixes, once again, that was taken care of. But the big thing that it added yesterday was that of the new CWL team packs in the camos. So that is something that is available from the Quartermaster, and they're 500 COD points each, which to me, I think are a little bit pricey for that kind of stuff, especially if you're dropping so many at one time. But there are different teams that are from the CWL that are going into that. One thing that I'd honestly love to see is if these take into account these sales, and then the sales from those camos go in and kind of crowdfund a bigger prize pool for COD champs. I think that'd be awesome. I don't know if that'll happen. I know other games, and I think Halo was one that did it before, or perhaps I'm wrong on that, but regardless, the whole idea behind that is absolutely awesome, I think, in the sense that those sales could directly affect the prize pool, but I don't know, again, if that will happen. But if you guys want to support one of your favorite teams like Optic, FaZe, TK, those guys, those camos are now available in the Quartermaster for, again, 500 COD points each. After that, the only other recap that we have is that of the reminder that this week's weapon contract from Corporal Green is that of the PTRS 41. That's available right now for 5,000 armory credits with a time frame of 1 hour, and you're tasked with getting 50 sniper rifle kills as your challenge. So again, it is something that is rather easy to do, and especially in an hour's time frame, you'll end up having that probably completed right around the halfway point, but it is something that I definitely recommend picking this one up. And realistically, the only thing that we got that was brand new to us here with this update is that of next week's weapon contract. The Blunderbuss is next week's, again, probably gonna be 4,000, 5,000 armory credits in about 50 minutes to an hour time frame for who knows how many kills or what the challenge may be, but that is gonna be there. And this is one that's more whimsical. I might pass on this. I have, of course, a variance of it already, but just even if I didn't, I don't know if I'd get it. It's a fun weapon to use, but is it practical? Not all that much. But again, that's kind of where we are for the multiplayer side. One thing that I did think was cool, and I want to mention here out of this, even though I don't normally do it, is that of what is a little bit with the zombies update, because this was really cool to see. Cameron Dayton got behind the camera and actually did a video congratulating the crew that ended up completing the Tortured Path Easter egg, and also, again, kind of extended that back to DLC 2's completion, because they didn't really mention that all that much in terms of at least the video. So it's cool to see that kind of visual recognition of what happened with that. But coming back to where we even started this off, it was something that we didn't have all that many answers given to what I had at least hoped to see answered with this blog post. So things like the next Master Prestige update in terms of the rewards, things like the next event, a teaser for that, those kind of things were kind of going by the wayside. And I guess an implication here out of that is that I don't know if we'll end up seeing the next event launch this coming Tuesday like we talked about yesterday, which kind of plays into, again, the safe bet that we had where it might not make sense to rush it 1 week after, but it also kind of is like, well, maybe that's a missed opportunity if we don't see that independent and the American variants for the M1 as well as the 1911, and also what this might mean then for the other weapon drops that we might see. And included in that are some of those new ZK variants. Once again, there are 3 that are hidden to regular plain view in the multiplayer menu, but if you also go again into the zombies menu or into the paint job customization, you can end up seeing 3 different variants. We've talked about that a couple of times, but again, those are things that are up on the table still that we thought maybe would come relatively soon. So that's something that, of course, I'm a little bummed out by, but in time, I guess we'll see. I know it was only a hunch, but it was just seemingly rather weird we didn't see anything touched on with that. Also, one big thing I was really hoping for again was the Master Prestige rewards, because that was something that was mentioned last week's blog post, but really was kind of out of left field. It didn't really have a huge reasoning as to why, so it was kind of like, why bring it up if it's not going to be mentioned very soon? So unfortunately, we didn't get anything on that either. So right now it was just kind of a recap, and so therefore, I guess we look to next week's blog post, or if something drops out of nowhere on Tuesday or over the weekend, we get some teases here and there. But regardless, that's kind of where we're at with this one. I'm looking forward to the future, but I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Were you guys hoping for a little bit more here at this one? Were you hoping that we'd end up seeing some more explanation on terms of whatever it may be? Master Prestige is the new update coming out with a new event, new weapons, and that's one thing that I also want to mention is that the weapons are already in the game files, so it's literally, like we said in the last video, just a flick of the switch that needs to come on for this to happen in terms of a new event. So that's something that, again, led me to believe we'd be seeing one maybe teased today, but unfortunately that's not the case. But regardless, let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below on this update. What do you guys think? Anything at all? There is no right or wrong answer, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding Call of Duty World War II content, anything regarding best class setups, tips, tricks, news, information, updates like these regarding Call of Duty World War II, and of course, Black Ops 4, we got some content coming up in the near future probably as well. stick it right here up on the channel if you guys are interested in any of that. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get character outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below if you guys want to toss a follow. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Instagram as well, get a little more active over there, and if you guys want to follow my life and pictures, feel free to. That link is again also in the description. But all that said and out of the way, hopefully you guys had a fantastic day. Thank you all so much for watching. Mine is an espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.